The proclamation of the gospel has two dimensions, the spiritual dimensions and the temporal dimensions as well. But between these two, the primacy is given to the spiritual needs of the people of God. The gospel could not be neglected at the expense of serving the poor. And this is a very important reality that the church must remember. The church is not another humanitarian organization that serves the poor. The church is basically concerned about saving souls. Because the truth is, what we need most in life is not just only physical and material needs. No amount of material satisfaction can satisfy a person. We all are asking the ultimate questions. What is life? Why is there suffering? Why are we here on earth? Where did we come from? Where do we go to after death? These are important questions that everyone must have an answer to. Otherwise, life cannot be lived purposefully and meaningfully. A life without meaning is not worth living at all. Human beings, we are contingent beings. Tomorrow, if you die, the world will continue. But if God does not exist, then nothing exists. That's the reason why, if we want to answer the question who we are, then the answer can only be found in God, who is the one who gives us our existence. So the question of man, therefore, cannot be answered without, first and foremost, recognizing that God is the creator. That is why secularism is at the lost. That's why today the world is in despair. Because today, when they remove God from their life, man cannot explain himself. He cannot give meaning to himself anymore. Lasting meaning. Even if we have answered the question and believe that God is the creator, it is still not sufficient. Because there are many religions, they believe in God as well. And yet, they are fearful of their gods. Some even have to appease their gods in case the gods get angry. So, knowing that God is our creator might sometimes even create hostility, that this God does not care. Look at this pandemic. This God is far away. He has no mercy. He has no compassion. So it is equally important to know who God is. Even the devil believes in the existence of God, but they do not worship him. So believing that God exists does not give us security and peace. It is in Jesus that we meet God. It is in Jesus we discover our true identity as sons and daughters of God. The Father is very important. The Father is the origin of life. The Father is the goal of life. This explains why those of us who do not know our biological father, many of us go through identity crisis. And there is this deep desire to know our biological father. Not to say that if we find them, we are very happy. In fact, we can be very angry that they gave up on us. But still, we need to know our identity. No one can come to the Father except through me. This verse must be correctly interpreted. Many people said, from this verse means to say, all those who do not accept Jesus, they will go to hell. This is not what the gospel means. What Jesus meant is, if you do not know me, if you do not believe in me, you might believe in God, that is true. But you will not know the identity of the Father. Because Jesus reveals to us who the Father is in His mercy, in His compassion, eating, drinking with sinners, healing the sick, Jesus shows us the compassion of God. Jesus is a sacrament of the Father, in other words. That's why Jesus is the place where we meet the Father. Jesus is the person who shows us who the Father. Otherwise, you can just believe in God, but you do not know the real person of God. Without Jesus revealing himself to us and also his divine plan for us. This is a very important revelation. Now that we know who God is, what must we do? We are now called with the sacrament of Jesus in the world. That's why the church is called a sacrament. And that's why we have the 7 sacraments. We are called to mediate Jesus' presence in the world. That is the task of every royal member of the family, because we are members of the royal priesthood. And so our task is to make Jesus known and loved through our words, through our actions. Now we can understand why, in the understanding of the church, it is important not only to proclaim Jesus in words, in our preaching, but it's important to do works of mercy, reaching out to the poor, healing the sick, showing the face of God. Because Jesus, who is living in us, will give us that power. And that is the greatness of being a Christian, to shine forth so that the Father will be known and loved. And it is for this reason that the church today underscores the importance of humanitarian services, all the humanitarian works of the church. Today we have Caritas in our church here with 28 organizations as affiliates. We have Harris with 48 organizations serving the poor, the vulnerable, the marginalized, whether in Singapore or overseas. And this is a very important part of the mission of the church. And this is basically the task of the laity. And so today, as members of the royal priesthood, let us remember, we are called to manifest the love of Jesus. We are called to save lives. Of course, ultimately, underpinning Christian humanitarian work is faith in Jesus, and we want to lead them to Jesus. Because at the end of the day, it is a salvation of souls. It is to give them the full meaning of life and to lead them to know this God who has revealed himself in Jesus.